So I've been flipping cars since 2015, and before I took it seriously like an actual business, I was more buying cars off Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. And if you guys been following this channel, then you also know I've been renting cars for a few years because I've been sharing my journey. So in this video, I'll be talking about some pros and cons of both these business models, things I like, things I don't like. And at the very end of the video, I'll be showing you guys examples of 2 of the newest units that I just purchased. And we're gonna be going over some numbers as far as if it makes more sense to just flip these cars or if it makes more sense to just rent them. First, let's start with the pros of selling cars. It's possible to buy and sell cars without using any of your own capital. To do this, you'll have to be a licensed dealer or a broker, and you'll have to apply for what they call a floor plan. So a floor plan is like a line of credit. They put up the capital for you to purchase the vehicle, and usually you have terms that span from 3, 4, 5 months to sell the vehicle, and they charge a very small interest for using this floor plan. Another option is to operate like a broker. That means you can middleman the deals, take people to the auction and place bids on their behalf, and you make your profit as the middleman. But both these options, you will need to have a dealer's license or a broker's license. The second thing I like, a pro about buying and selling cars, the returns are faster, meaning you could buy a car from the auction and sell that car within a few days or a week, and you make your profit in that short span. As opposed to renting a car, like my rental business, I'm averaging about 70 to 100% ROI. So it's more of a longer term play when you compare it to just flipping cars. The third pro about flipping cars, if you can figure out how to offer financing to your customers, you're gonna set yourself apart from 80% of these small dealerships out here. Now, financing could be through a finance company that they're gonna finance the deal for the customer. They're gonna cut you a check up front, and you're pretty much gonna be out the deal, and the customer is gonna pay the finance company in monthly installments. The second option is you could do an in-house financing or considered a buy here, pay here, which you're taking a down payment on the vehicle and the customer is gonna be paying you directly monthly for this vehicle. Now, there is some downside of that because obviously the asset still belongs to you, so you're gonna have to make sure you protect your asset by having a GPS. I would likely put a kill switch on that as well, just in case the customers are not gonna be paying, because keep in mind, there's a reason these customers are coming for a buy or payer, because they're most likely not gonna be able to get approved at a traditional bank or a credit union, maybe due to their low credit score or them not fulfilling their obligations. So these kind of people, you don't wanna take that risk. But I will say this, there's a lot of buy year, pay year companies that are selling these cars 2, 3, 4 times, meaning a customer could put a down payment down, they might pay on that car for a few months, maybe even a year or 2, and once the payment stops coming, they pretty much violate the terms of that contract, and you as a dealer can go and pick the car up, and there's nothing stopping you from reselling that vehicle. Third pro about flipping cars, something that I like, is it can be a recession-proof business if you can somehow figure out a way to profitably sell cars for less than $10,000. These are prices that people can afford. They can come and cash out on a $10,000 car, an $8,000 car, a $7,000 car. Once you start getting higher in price range, then you might need to offer financing options, or you might need to target customers who have a little bit better credit. If you could somehow figure out how to profitably sell cars for less than $10,000, I consider that recession proof, because no matter what's going on in the economy, people are always gonna need cars. So if you can put yourself in that position to profitably sell cars for this price, then you will be able to sell cars all throughout the year, regardless of tax time or not. So now let's talk about some cons of flipping cars. So the number one thing I don't like necessarily about flipping cars is that is a hustle, trust me, especially if you're buying 1 or 2 cars at a time. It's true what they say that the deal is actually made when you purchase the vehicle. So that means you want to go to the auction, you want to check the car out, you want to hear the engine run, you want to move it in gear, you want to check for oil leaks, all these little things. And as far as renting is a little more lenient, because if you make a mistake on a purchase for a rental vehicle, that just means you have to rent the vehicle out a few more months or something like that to get your return back. If you make a mistake on buying a car to flip, that just means now you have to sell the car for a higher price. So that's why I said the deal is made when you purchase the vehicle. But as far as going out to the auction, checking the cars, make sure everything's good, once you do that, you can bid online and enter in an online bid, or do what they call a proxy bid. That means you enter in the highest amount you're willing to pay for a car, and the system will actually put the bid in for you. But like I said, the guys who are making out good are the guys going out and actually buying like 5 to 10 cars at a time, and they might not have to go back to the auction again for another month or two. It just depends how many cars they're selling a month. But if you're only buying one car and you're selling that car and having to go back to the auction, I mean, there's an auction almost every single day. So you could spend hours and hours and hours out there every week just checking cars out and test driving, and you could end up not even buying any of those cars because they don't fit into your budget, especially right now, tax time, where everybody paying crazy high prices for these cars. So you have to make sure you're checking the cars out because you want to know exactly what you're buying. You can't skip that process, but at the same time, to do it right, you have to put a lot of hours into that, into checking the vehicles out and going out to the auction. So now let's jump to the rental side. Let's talk about some pros of the rental business. When renting out cars, my favorite part about this business is cash flow. Because once I get the car ready, I clean it, I do the check-in, there's no more work to be done until that vehicle actually make it back. So if the customer has a car for a week or 2 weeks or a month, I'm still getting paid recurring revenue every day that the customer keeps the car, even though the work I did was initially when I got the car ready. And I could have 10, 20, 30 cars out on the road making passive income and making that residual income. So the cash flow is great in the rental business. And if you operate like I do, I aim for cheaper cars with long-term renters. So that means they're gonna be planning on keeping these cars for longer durations, which means less work on my part, which equals to more passive income. Another pro about the rental business is it's easy to outsource a lot of the work in the day-to-day activity of this business. Now, like I mentioned before, it is hard to find somebody to go out and purchase the right vehicles for you. But as you move up in price range, then yes, you can just easily train somebody to bid on certain vehicles. And if this vehicle goes for under MMR value, then pull the trigger on it. So it's easier to outsource this business. You purchase the car, it needs maintenance, body work, whatever it needs. You can easily teach somebody how to do a check-in, have somebody do customer service, have your roadside set up. So what I'm trying to say is it's a lot easier to set up a system in a rental business as opposed to setting up a system in a business that buys and sells used cars. Another pro about the rental business is you can get started in this business with no cash needed. Like, I started my business with a business loan, and I took that money, bought a few cars, and I've just been using the profits from those cars to reinvest in more inventory. But there's a lot of creative ways that you can get into rental cars for your business. Another way is a lot of people are financing under your business name. So it's not under your personal credit. You don't need a personal guarantor a lot of the times if the business has some credit established, or you can go ahead and personal guarantee the loan. It doesn't always mean it's gonna show up on your personal credit. There's other ways you can get it too without having to finance it. A lot of people now are doing co-hosting. Once you figure this game out, you learn how to manage cars, you learn the system, you know which cars are profitable, you could easily go and pitch to investors to get their money to invest, or pitch to friends and family who have extra cars that they're not really using. Once you prove the concept that you're able to make money in this business, people will come find you and they'll have that trust and faith to give you their asset, to give you their money, because you've already proven to them that you're able to turn a profit. So this business is great to scale up without needing your own personal income or without needing large upfront investment, because you can always get others involved. You can always finance cars, and you can always use the cars as collateral to secure more funding. All right, so let's jump into some of the cons of the rental car business. First thing, there's a big misconception about this being 100% passive right off the rip, and that's just not true. If you're starting off and you're the only one operating the business, then it's not gonna be 100% passive, because like I previously mentioned, there always has to be somebody to do the check-in and check-outs. Also, another crucial thing that people miss is somebody always has to be the one to do customer service. A lot of times during these reservations, a guest might have a question and they might shoot you a text and not necessarily call you. So somebody has to be active and willing to respond to the guest, because this keeps the relationship good and it keeps the customer coming back if you're attentive to them. Another thing that can be viewed as a con in the rental car business is the maintenance on the vehicles. Now, when you buy a car to flip, once you get the car ready, you sell the car to the customer, that car is their responsibility. Anything that goes on with that car from that point on is up to them to fix it however they see fit. Now, when you're renting the vehicle, the responsibility is yours. You have to make sure that vehicle is always maintained, make sure the brakes are good, oil change is done. So basically, you have to stay up on the maintenance. Even when these customers are renting the cars for months at a time, I always have them bring it back to me every few months just so I can do the oil change and to check the vehicle out, check the condition is in, because the maintenance is on us. I know there's a lot of hosts out there who don't stay up on their maintenance. The guests might have a bad experience because of this, and that might lead them to look for other alternatives, and they might find me. Now, you know, once they come to me, I'm gonna lock them down. My cars are gonna be well maintained. I'm gonna take care of them. And even if something happens during the trips, because these things do happen, I've had transmissions go out, engines go out, cars overheating, whatever. I've had all these situations. I've been doing this for a minute now. But even after the fact, if the car goes down during the rental, the way I address the situation is in a manner that keeps the guests coming back, in a manner that lets them appreciate my professionalism. So it really doesn't matter what happens, it's how you handle it. But maintenance definitely is another way to make yourself stand out by just making sure these cars are always well maintained. So I've went over things I like and don't like about both these business models. So you guys are probably wondering, which do I prefer and which do I use the most? Well, I actually use both of these combined. And that's what I would suggest to each and every one of you that has the ability to dive deeper in these games. I found out that from my experience, mixing both these strategies, you actually maximize your profit on each unit. So let me explain. So let's take one of the vehicles I purchased recently at the beginning of this year. Let's use this as an example. So this is a 2016 Chevy Malibu. It has 113,000 miles on it. Now, I bought this vehicle from the auction a little bit lower price because it did need some additional little work, just minor things. So I purchased this vehicle for $5,300 from the auction, Manheim. As you can see right here, the vehicle needed a side mirror, upper and a lower bumper grille. It needed a windshield replaced and needed some good detailing. I also went ahead and put 4 tires on this car. So the $5,300 brought me all the way up to $6,624.74. And also that cost $382 included in that price to register the vehicle. Let's just say I didn't register the vehicle, I'd be into it for $6,300. Let's just say I was gonna list it online, post for sale, and just try to get a quick flip. Now, if I look on Facebook Marketplace for comps, I can see that this vehicle is selling around 10 grand, some a little bit higher, some a little bit lower. But if I was to put it on for 10 grand, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't get any hits, because if somebody has 10 grand cash, they do have a lot of options for other vehicles. So a reasonable price for this vehicle might be about 8 grand, maybe even 75. So let's just say I sold it for 8 grand. That means from 63 to 8 grand, I would make $1,700. Not much work being involved. Didn't take a lot of time to get these things together. Just ordered a few parts, put a little side mirror on there. So I sell this car for $8,000 and I make $1,700. Now, that's great money. A lot of people work all month to make $1,700. So I'm not knocking that at all. But let's just say I go ahead and rent this vehicle. Now, I'm gonna put your numbers from my other 2 Malibus. And I've had a 2012 Malibu on this platform on Turo for over 2 years. I've had my 2014 on for maybe 2 years. These cars have been rocking with me for a while. When I get good cars that I can rent for a cheap price and it consistently gets rented out, I'm not really in a rush to sell these cars. So I have great numbers on similar vehicles to compare it with, but it just so happens that instead of selling this vehicle, I did throw it on the Turo platform. So I'll show you some numbers here that it did. So as you can see right here from this screenshot, this Malibu that I'm actually talking about right now, I've listed it on the platform, and in 3 months, it's made about $2,300, and we still have about another week or so left in March, and this car is currently on a trip. So just saying that it continues this average, then in a year, this vehicle could potentially make anywhere from $8,000 to $9,000, which will put me at above 100% ROI. Now, my vehicles usually average about 20,000 miles a year if they're consistently booked at 20% utilization or above, which I'm expecting on this vehicle. So let's just say next year around this time, this vehicle goes from having a mileage of 113,000 miles to about 133,000 miles. Now, what's strange about the used car market is once the vehicle is about 5 years old or older, it's at the bottom of what they call a depreciation curve. So it's not losing that much value from that point forward. So this same vehicle next year, 130,000 miles, the comps are very similar to what it could sell for right now. So let's just say I go ahead and rent the vehicle out. It makes $8,000. I'm in profit about $1,700. I turn around next year and sell this vehicle for, let's say 65 or 7, or maybe I luck out and I get somebody to buy it for the whole 8. That means I just made $10,000 profit in the year. Also, not to mention, a lot of my guests that are renting from me are having car issues currently with their cars being in the shop, hence the reason they need a vehicle in the first place. So I've actually sold vehicles to my Turo customers after they rented the car. And I do frequently get asked from my Turo guests if they can purchase the car they're in. Just a lot of these cars are not for sale at the time. But if you're in a position or can work your way up to being in a position where you can have a large inventory of vehicles in your fleet that you don't mind selling at any given point, this is a great way to make profit and to use Turo customers as a lead magnet to sell cars. I hope you guys got value out of this video. I hope that you've already subscribed to the channel if you're new over here, and I hope that you smashed the like button already, because come on, look at all this free game I'm giving you guys. Also, I'm still offering consultations. If you guys are interested in this business, want to pick my brain, want to get some ideas, want to find out if this could potentially work for you in your situation, I'm going to leave the link down in the description. Book me for a consultation call. It will be me personally jumping on a Zoom call with you to try to help you start your business out or give you tips however I can. So make sure you guys check that out if needed. Other than that, guys, make sure you look out for the next video, and I appreciate you guys sharing this time with me once more. I will catch you guys next time around.